Welcome back. This is Will at Work. I'm Kevin. Today we're looking at the Super Pong from Tele-Games. Again, Tele-Games was Sears branded game systems. Most of the time they were Atari, but they did do some other ones like in television. I know they had a clone system of that, and they may have had some other stuff too. I'm not, right off the bat, off the top of my head, I don't know for sure all of them. And the Tele-Games with the dash in the name, I'm not sure if they are or are not related to the Tele-Games that helped publish video games for old, defunct, let's say, game systems, right? Because there is a Tele-Games out there that would do some publishing of games for older systems that no longer had a publisher, especially like Atari but they did like ColecoVision and 8-bit gaming and things, and they've made a series of titles for like the Game Boy Color or whatever, Game Boy Advance, stuff like that. I don't know right off the top of my head. And I've always I don't know the connection if there is any, but I do know that when the name has the Tele-Games in it like that, it's basically the Sears brand, and then the Tele-Games without the dash is typically the more, standalone company. Anyway, now you might be wondering, you might be saying to yourself, hey, Kevin, you just did Super Pong by Atari. Isn't this the same thing? I'm not sure. And the reason I say I'm not sure is because generally Sears didn't name their Pong systems the same name as Atari did, right? So if Atari had Super Pong, Sears would call theirs, let's say, something else, or they might call it Super Pong. We're going to find out. But, with Pong, they named it something different. And then you had like Ultra Pong 4, and, Tele-Games had, Hockey Pong 4 or something, which was basically the same. So it's hard to say. But that's not the only reason. Like, they could have just said, we're both Super Pong. And it very well may be. Because it is in the same style of case, but these are removable. And if you go back and look at the Super Pong video, that is not the case. This is an evolution of the Atari form factor that came a little bit later, right? And the way these Pong systems were released in like the 1976, 1977, etc., it's almost like they were working on these things every week and coming up with new ideas. I mean, it just seems that way. There's so many different Pong systems. Sometimes I wonder if I have more Pong systems than I have regular consoles. And I tell you, it's a race to find out. We're gonna find out. You're gonna be surprised how many of these things I have, and how many game consoles I have. Probably. I don't think there's 300 in the pile or anything, but we're gonna find out together. Anyway. So we do have some removable controls. It does have the 4-game selector down here, and auto fast, game start, on and off. Sound probably comes through the speaker. I did notice here that it looks like it was purchased at a green store, whatever that is, probably some sort of discount store or salvage, for $2.50. So and then I bought it probably 10 times or whatever off of whoever sold it to me on eBay for that price. But probably got a decent price on this one. So interesting. So here's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and switch over to the video feed, and we'll see if this one works, or I'll switch back here if I can't get it to work. I do want to point out one last thing. This is the first Pong system of all the Pongs I've looked at so far in this series that instead of taking C-cell batteries, it takes D-cell. Now, I'm not saying that all of them haven't. I don't know if I checked like the original Atari Pong or the Atari Super Pong, if those took D's or C's, simply because I didn't need them. I had the adapters. The adapter doesn't fit this one. This one uses a special adapter, I guess. Maybe it needed a little bit more amps because it's using D cells instead of C cells. But, the thing as well is that Atari was using their own custom chips, and they had color, and everything in their games, and so perhaps they needed a little bit more voltage than the National Semiconductor chips that a lot of the other um, platforms used. Anyway, I just want to bring that up because it's a little bit of a curiosity. I do have some D-cell batteries, so we're going to go ahead and put those in now, and we'll give it a shot and see if this works. Will it work or not? Here we go. Okay, so we've got Super Pong here, and it does look like it is a version of Super Pong, but I'm not 100% sure it's the same, but it does definitely look like it. I have the video currently in 640 by 480, and when I go and encode this, I'm not sure the output you're going to see, but I'm trying to get things so that they would look as they would on a normal screen, and it may or may not. It might ended up being converted to something higher because of the intro video and everything that I put together. But, anyway, working on one thing at a time. What I will say is that I've managed to get the VCR that I use to bring in the signal so it doesn't make that little pop-up in the top right that says stereo sometimes. You might have seen that in a couple of different videos where it's trying to get the stereo signal off of the video, and that gets kind of annoying. So I've got that removed, and the VCR also has a thing where when it detects static, it will go to a blue screen in order to not have you hear the static noise. It's a nice feature of old VCRs, but at the same time, it's like kind of need that static sometimes because I'm trying to find a working signal for the game console. So I'm leaving that static part in. You won't hear the static though because I disconnect the sound coming in, because on these old systems, like you're hearing that beep right there, that's because the sound's coming through the Pong itself. Okay, anyway, enough technical stuff. Let's go ahead. We're on game 1. Let's give it game start here. And yeah, we saw this with Super Pong before. This is a weird kind of, you got to sort of catch the ball and let it get through in order for you to get a point. So I want to get the ball to go into the mouth of this green block or purple block on the right side, and it's 2 players, so and then I get a point. So it's like the opposite of Pong, right? Which is kind of like, if you think about it, that's really what that is it's like a purple stripe with a black box on it that's letting things through. But anyway, that's the first game. Second game. This looks like some kind of single player mode. You move the big bar. You can block the whole screen. You could have it not be there at all, or you can have it open up a little bit so you can try and score off of that one area, or etc. It's sort of an interesting way to do a practice game, although it's also a little bit weird, like that it only, like I can't go up any further, so I can't have an opening at the bottom and a wall at the top. It's sort of mostly just to have a wall here and play single player. I'm not sure though. I guess it's just a neat thing they just threw in, that you could have like a crevice there to do something with. Whatever. Strange. Third game. This looks like your standard tennis. Right, you got 2 guys closer, one guy closer together to the other guy, and then farther away. There you go. That's not annoying. Hooray! And let's look at game 4. Oh, and that's your standard Pong. So again, this is a standard Pong system, from Atari, in color. It's got the additional games in it versus the first Pong that they had. The difference here being with the Tele-Games brand, they went ahead and put the wireless controls in. And I just find that really interesting because Atari's Super Pong did not. And, with the history of Pong, from what I've read, The original Pong system was first licensed to Sears, right? Sears was producing theirs, and then Atari made their own Pong that they sold themselves. But the Sears at that time was a much, it was like the Walmart of its day, in the sense that lots of people were buying all of their sort of stuff like this from Sears. And so what may have happened though with Super Pong, and I don't know if this is true, but it seems like it might be, is that Atari released Super Pong first, using the old design that they took from Pong, and Tele-Games, the Sears brand, added it a little bit later, and so they got these removable controllers that we see in the Ultra Pong, Pong Sports Doubles, Hockey Pong, etc. So, it's probably some sort of weird evolution like that, and they called them both Super Pong, although they are slightly different. I just think it's funny with these removable controllers. It's kind of nice because, you could sit back on the couch and play and have the console on the floor. But again, in order to have the game start and select the game and on, off, and all that, you still had to reach down and mess with the console itself. Not too much has changed in terms of turning it on and off because, in a lot of cases, well, you can turn it on with the controller, but if you want to put a disc in, you still got to get up and go do that. Although a lot of things are becoming online only now at the consoles. But anyhow, I don't want to date it too much here. This is a keeper. It works really well. And we'll move on to the next one. Thanks for watching.